They put the I love you in family.
That's us with Cora and Dawson.
They were picture perfect.
As a husband, living with Lindsay over the years, what kind of a mother was she?
She was very dedicated. She did everything. She started reading them books at 3 months. And she made up songs for them.
Then it all went wrong.
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, "Where are the kids?"
And what was her response?
She said, "They're in the basement."
In the months leading up to the children's deaths, were Patrick and Lindsay Clancy growing apart?
I want to connect with Pat again. I know he needs it. I need it. I'm terrified because I'm terrified of the relationship.
I mean, she was afraid. She was afraid to be alone. And she actually asked if she could sleep with me.
We're taking a closer look at the relationship between Patrick and Lindsay Clancy, from beginning to tragic middle and end. This is Scandal, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Gillespe. They were living the dream. A beautiful couple, an idyllic near seaside home, a family to be envied. How did it go from this?
How did she like being a nurse?
She loved it. I think it was her dream.
To this?
I knew he was gone.
The relationship between Patrick and Lindsay Clancy is taking center stage as the world over watches the gavel-to-gavel coverage of this monumental case. Lindsay, a once bright and loving labor and delivery nurse and mother of 3, is now accused of murdering her young children, strangling them to death with exercise bands. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts alleges that Lindsay's actions were premeditated and calculated, carrying out cold-blooded murder. Her defense, though, disagrees, arguing Lindsay was not of sound mind at the time of the death, so she can't be held criminally responsible. Essentially, the Massachusetts version of the insanity defense. They don't deny she did it, but they say she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. There are many facets of this case that have the internet talking, from potential conspiracy theories to inconsistent testimony, and at the very least, the shocking details that are truly heartbreaking to hear. But throughout this trial, there's one thing that really has come to the forefront, a curiosity about Patrick Clancy. On past episodes of Scandal, we've walked you through the conspiracy theories relating to his testimony, a complete timeline of his whereabouts the day the kids were killed. But now, we're taking a closer look at Patrick and Lindsay's relationship as a whole. Here's where it stands right now.
And were you previously married to a person named Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
And you're divorced now, is that correct?
Correct.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you point to them and describe something they're wearing?
It's not necessary.
She's wearing a pink shirt.
Record will reflect the identification of the defendant.
But long before their relationship ended, it began, more than a decade ago, when the couple was introduced in Boston.
Where did you meet the defendant?
In South Boston.
And when was that?
I think it was May 2013.
And how did you meet her?
Through my cousin.
And would it be accurate to state that your cousin had been college roommates of the defendant?
Yes.
And at some point in time, did you start dating?
Yes.
And around what time was that?
July 2013.
Patrick's cousin, Kristen Walton, introduced the pair. She later told The New Yorker they never really had any bumps in the road. On one of their first dates together, Patrick took Lindsay to fly a kite. That summer, he took her to his family's 4th of July party on the beach. His sister Erin told The New Yorker Lindsay was sweet and a little quiet, but just lovely.
So, if I may, you met Lindsay back when she was in school, or was she working as a nurse?
She was at the MGH Institute.
And the MGH Institute is like Mass General Hospital nursing program, correct?
Correct.
She had some kind of like an accelerated course or something?
Yeah.
Had double major?
Yeah.
Was a very good student?
She was, yeah.
And she, at a relatively young age, got her RN and was a nurse at Mass General, correct?
Correct.
And at Mass General, she was a, they call it L&D, a labor and delivery nurse, is that it?
Yeah.
Do you remember how many years she worked for Mass General?
I think she started in 2014.
Do you remember when she graduated from nursing school?
6 months earlier.
And were you guys in a relationship then? Or
We were, yeah.
By all accounts, including Patrick's, Lindsay loved her career choice.
tell us a little bit about, you know Lindsay, obviously, better than most. How did she like being a nurse?
She loved it. I think it was her dream.
Would you say that she enjoyed her work and helping people?
Definitely, yeah.
So there's been some commentary here from the government about that she was anxious because she had to go back to work, like she didn't want to go to work, she's lazy, or whatever the case may be.
Objection.
This is sustained, if you could rephrase that.
All right, so I'll strike lazy, that she didn't want to go back to work, but I believe you said in answer to the DA, there was a reason that you could see that she was anxious about going back to work, correct?
Correct.
Now, was she anxious about going back to work, to your knowledge, because she just didn't want to work?
No.
What was the reason?
She struggled to be away from our kids at a young age.
Before all that and children were added to the picture, Patrick and Lindsay made another big step in their relationship.
Did you eventually move in together?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
September 2015
And where did you live?
in Quincy.
How long did you live in Quincy?
1 year.
And where did you go after that?
We bought a house in Weymouth.
And how long did you live in Weymouth?
2 years.
During this time frame, Patrick and Lindsay's life seemed like the American dream. They bought a house, got engaged, and eventually married in December 2016. Their reception was held at a golf club, already decorated for Christmas. While still living in Weymouth, a South Shore city about 15 miles outside of Boston, Patrick and Lindsay began to expand their family.
And was that while you were living in Weymouth?
Yes.
Did you have your first child when you were living in Weymouth?
Yes.
And what was her name?
Cora.
Cora Marie Clancy was born on December 24th, 2017.
You told us about her birth with Cora, and
Yeah.
Cora, it was a bit of a rough birth, is that right?
Yeah, she didn't have time to get an epidural, and she bled a lot.
Going back to after Cora was born, do you recall the defendant having any physical issues after the birth?
Yeah.
And what were those?
I think there was a lot of tearing, and she bled a lot.
Did it take her a while to recover physically?
I would say so, yeah.
Did she have maternity leave at that time?
Yes.
Where was she working?
Mass General Hospital.
And what was she doing there?
She's a labor and delivery nurse.
At that point in time, when she had Cora in 2017, how long had she been a nurse?
3 years, maybe?
And do you recall how long her maternity leave was with Cora?
That was the shortest of the three. I want to say it was 10 or 11 weeks.
Cora's namesake held a special place in Lindsay's heart.
You see the name of the little girl that was born on that date that was her first delivery?
Yeah,
What's the name?
it's Cora.
And is that the reason you guys named Cora?
It was, yeah.
In July 2018, Patrick, Lindsay, and little Cora made the move to Duxbury, Massachusetts, an upscale and quaint town on the way to the Cape. Shortly thereafter, their family expanded once again when Dawson William Clancy was born on September 30th, 2019.
And what was Dawson's delivery like?
Pretty traumatic.
How so?
He was in I think a breech position. So he came out in I guess I don't know much about it, but not an ideal way, and it caused just significant bruising and tearing.
So again, did the defendant with this second pregnancy have some pain and difficulty physically healing from the birth?
Yeah, much more so than Cora.
Lindsay admittedly had some anxiety after Cora was born, but it got worse after the birth of Dawson. It was in this time frame, spring 2020, when she first met with a therapist to discuss her anxiety. According to Patrick, they didn't really vibe, so her counseling ended.
After Dawson's birth, did the defendant ever tell you whether she was on any psychiatric medication after Dawson's birth?
No.
Did she seek treatment or tell you she sought treatment after Dawson's birth?
Yeah, she got a therapist for a short period of time, but it didn't last very long.
The New Yorker reports that Lindsay considered switching her shift at Mass Gen to the day shift from overnight, but that would almost double her commute, driving 35 miles to Boston in rush hour traffic.
Lindsay and I worked the night shift together, and often on the night shift you get to have an opportunity to really get to know your coworkers and celebrate things that are happening in their lives or support them with things that are not going so well. Lindsay asked a lot of questions of her coworkers about parenting. Simple things as she would poll the nursing staff about monogrammed lunch boxes, right down to sleeping habits. What questions do you ask a daycare provider to make sure that you're in the right place? She was often asking her coworkers childcare, parenting tips. Lindsay often checked in on her kids while they were sleeping at night. Again, we worked the night shift, and she had the ability to look at her phone and see what Cora or Callan were doing in their cribs, and she shared that with a lot of us. There was one particular night that Cora was crying. She was probably about 6 months old, and Lindsay never let Cora cry. She wasn't at that point in parenting, and she was very communicative about that. And Cora was crying on the monitor. It was the middle of the night, and maybe after 10 minutes, she started to call Pat, and he wasn't answering. And she got really worried that Cora was crying, but now Pat wasn't answering his phone. So in the middle of the night, she called the police to do a wellness check on her family.
During this time, Lindsay reportedly joked about becoming a stay-at-home mom. Patrick told The New Yorker, "I'd say to anyone, usually moms, but really moms or dads, that you should have your kids, but you should also have a life to yourself." Patrick testified Lindsay was nervous to return to work after Dawson's birth, but she still made it work.
Can you describe for the jurors her relationship with Dawson? I know he was a little kid, but I mean, did she, to your observation, did she love Dawson?
She loved Dawson very much.
Did she resent him?
No.
And before they knew it, the Clancy family was expanding again, this time with a second son, Callan Patrick Clancy, who was born on May 26th, 2022.
My memory serves that it was a good birth. It was a not easy birth, but I mean, there were no complications.
There were no complications.
And were both of you very happy with Callan being born healthy and...
Yeah, we felt very lucky.
It was hard to juggle 3 kids, but Patrick testified Lindsay loved all of her children.
Can you tell the jurors, as a husband living with Lindsay over the years, what kind of a mother was she?
She was very dedicated. She did everything. She started reading them books at 3 months, and she made up songs for them. I remember she used to make green eggs and ham for Cora because she liked that book.
Is that one of the Dr. Seuss books?
Yeah. She brought them to music classes.
Lindsay's mother, Paula Musgrove, says the same thing.
Lindsay was a very loving mother. She was dedicated to her children. She was a fun mother. She was always doing things for her kids. She always wanted to be a mother, have many children, and I felt it was the best thing that ever happened to her. And she would do anything for her children. She was just a loving mother.
At trial, the defense highlighted evidence photos from inside the Clancy's home, showing drawings hanging on the wall, the ABCs, kind of things you'd expect in a home with 3 children. This was the defense's way of showing Lindsay was a good mom. She cared about her kids. And all these photos, by the way, were admitted into evidence. And if you want to take a deeper dive into the entire evidence folder yourself, I've got just the place for you. For behind every major scandal is a paper trail that the public rarely gets to see. If you haven't heard yet, you can go beyond the headlines with case files on the Law&Crime Plus app. This is where you get direct access to raw evidence, uncensored body camera recordings, crime scene images, video recordings of interrogations, and so much more. You can analyze the facts and uncover the truth for yourself. Plus, you get ad-free streaming of all your favorite law and crime and court TV shows. Unlock the evidence room today. Head over to lawandcrimeplus.com, enter promo code SCANDAL, and start your 30-day free trial. Now, for a time after Callan's birth, everything seemed to be perfect. Both Lindsay and Patrick were off work, and they spent the entire summer of 2022 together as a family.
And would you agree that in the summer, for example, of 2022, that Lindsay and Pat were active with the kids and were pretty happy?
Very happy, yes.
Did you observe in the summer of 22 any changes at that point in her personality and the way she was acting with her friends in society?
In the summer, no.
And they were having a fairly good summer.
Yes.
Lindsay made a lot of social media posts, mostly to Facebook, showing what appeared to be a loving family.
You are familiar with, as her husband, Lindsay's, let's say, use of social media, such as Facebook, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us, would you look at her Facebook a lot and the pictures that she would post?
To be honest, no, not really.
Okay. Were you able to identify any of her postings on Facebook?
Probably.
Okay. Representative, over the years, or the period of time, I'm going to ask if you can identify this particular Facebook. Again, just representative of the Facebook postings that Lindsay would post as the mother of your children. This, for example, would be July of 2018.
Yep.
Can you tell the jurors who that would be?
That's Cora.
Say June of 2021. Can you tell us who that?
That's Cora and Dawson.
Again, the end of July 2021.
That's us with Cora and Dawson.
But behind closed doors, Lindsay's mental status was changing.
What was the defendant's demeanor when you returned to work?
Increased anxiety and definitely, stressed out.
Do you recall describing her as slightly stressed but in good spirits?
Yeah.
And when she was stressed out, when she was showing some anxiety, how did that manifest?
I don't really know how to describe it. I guess it's just any way you can tell that somebody's stressed out. And I don't know, she would say, I'm not looking forward to going back to work. I remember once she said it's just so unnatural to be separated from your newborn, stuff like that.
So she didn't want to go back to work? Is that what you're saying?
I think she did. It was just a really difficult transition for her.
Lindsay was supposed to go back to work, but she postponed it. She started seeing mental health experts like Dr. Jennifer Tufts and even finally tried medication. On October 24th, 2022, Lindsay reportedly made a journal entry of sorts to her notes app. It was edited on November 3rd, 2022, but there's no way to tell exactly what was edited. Anyway, it reads,
I'm sad and depressed because I am not able to parent my third child like my first. I want to treat any one of my babies like my first, but I know that's not a feasible possibility. I'm sad that I stopped breastfeeding. I feel not as connected with Cal now. I think I sort of resent my other children because they prevent me from treating Cal like my first baby. And I know that's not fair to them. I know that. I was feeling so depressed last evening when Cora and Dawson came home from school. I know it runs off on them, so we had a pretty rough evening. I want to feel love and connection with all my kids. I'm also probably having a bit of an internal conflict because my whole life I wanted to have a lot of kids. I still don't want Cal to be our last, but I have a lot of figuring out to do before I have another. I'm on the fence about starting a new medication for anxiety/depression. I just want to feel happy. I want to be able to relax and take care of my kids. And then when they go to bed at night, I want to deeply relax and hang out with Pat and then fall into a deep sleep for 8 hours get up, and pour hard into myself for an hour and a half. Cal was so very planned and desired. I want to be able to give him all the love he deserves. I guess that's what it's like to be the third child, though. He's not the first third child to ever exist. I think I know he'll be okay, but it's really hard for me. I hate that he has to put himself to sleep. I'm sad I'm not breastfeeding anymore, but I think deep down, these are the right choices.
The next month, Lindsay sent her mom an alarming text.
Mom, will you please come up and stay with me for a bit? I'm really sick. Something is wrong. I had horrible insomnia all night, and I just don't know how I'm going to get through the day. I started taking the medicine my doctor prescribed for anxiety, and I think it's made things worse. It's just really scary, and I don't want to be alone.
We've reported extensively on the long list of medications that Lindsay was prescribed, took, either tapered off or stopped cold turkey. She also met with multiple mental health experts like Dr. Jennifer Tufts and nurse practitioner Rebecca Gelada. At one point, it got so bad that Lindsay was hospitalized at the Women and Infants Hospital in Rhode Island. Now, this happened back in December of 2022. And Patrick's actions the day of her hospitalization have raised some eyebrows.
Mr. Clancy, do you remember that day, December 20th of 2022, that she
Yeah.
went to that place? How did she get there?
I drove her.
And do you remember dropping her off?
Yeah.
Do you remember what her state of mind was to go there? Was she scared? Was she happy? Was she?
I think she was scared.
Do you remember what you did that day?
I took Dawson skiing.
And where did you go skiing?
Wachusett.
At some point in the afternoon, did you receive a phone call?
Yeah.
Was it from Lindsay?
Yeah.
And as a result of the phone call, what did you do?
She said that you need to come pick me up, and the doctors here want to talk to you, have you come in and talk for a bit.
What's more, Patrick has received some flack for leaving Lindsay alone with the kids in the weeks leading up to the children's deaths. Specifically, Patrick testified he went to New York for a business trip for 2 days. There have been rumors, and let me stress, rumors online, that he was meeting up with someone and maybe even having an affair. These rumors are fueled by the fact that Patrick now reportedly lives in New York and he's married to a woman based there. That being said, these rumors are unsubstantiated and weren't even addressed in court. What was addressed was Lindsay being alone with the kids even after her mental health diagnoses.
It's November of 2022, and you traveled. Where did you travel to?
New York.
And how long were you there, sir?
2 nights.
And who took care of the kids?
Lindsay.
Sorry?
Lindsay took care of the kids.
Lindsay. So for 2 days, 2 nights, a month and a week or so before she killed the children, she was home with the kids for 2 days. Is that right?
Right.
Fair to say that you also had your friends that you would do brunch with on occasion, Sundays or weeknights or whenever, guys night type thing?
Yep.
And you'd be out with your friends. If she wanted to kill the kids, she certainly could have done it that time when you're out, right?
In theory.
As opposed to sending you on a 3-minute trip to CVS and a 9-minute trip to a restaurant, you were away for 2 days in November and on a number of occasions for brunch as well as skiing, right? You're a pretty active guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Patrick testified he left Lindsay alone multiple times. That New York trip, brunch with friends, going skiing, and there are a few takeaways here. 1, this could benefit the defense. I mean, Lindsay had ample time to kill the kids while Patrick was away if this was premeditated murder. So the defense argues this is proof that she snapped and had a psychotic break as she killed the kids when Patrick ran out to complete just a few errands in about 45 minutes. Now, the other discourse here is a closer look at Patrick and Lindsay's relationship. Was Patrick a bad husband? I mean, he knew Lindsay was struggling with mental health and still left her alone with the children for an extended period of time. And just playing devil's advocate here, it is possible that he needed to go away for work. It's also possible Patrick, too, needed a short break from the intensity at home. Maybe he wanted to burn off some steam by going skiing or having brunch with some friends. I'm not here to make that determination, just to report what people are saying online and what jurors may be considering. No one really knows what Patrick and Lindsay's relationship was like except for Patrick and Lindsay. And it's through Lindsay and her purported journal entries that we have some slight understanding. For example, this is an entry about her alleged lack of intimacy with Patrick.
And there were a number of other entries that you put in your police report about that. One of which was that I feel horribly guilty about my marriage. I want to connect with Pat again. I know he needs it. I need it. I'm terrified because I'm terrified of the relationship. She needs to get birth control first. She made reference to her inability to have conjugal relations with her husband, right?
I believe so.
It seems that there were at least some intimacy issues between the pair given the recent testimony from Lindsay's mom.
So tell us, is there an incident that came to your mind that you recall that occurred on one evening that indicated to you how seriously she was suffering?
There were many. One particular evening that was disturbing to me was that, she was afraid. She was afraid to be alone. And she actually asked if she could sleep with me.
When was that?
That was late November, early December.
And did she indeed sleep with you on that occasion?
She did.
Lindsay made note of her mental health issues being the root of her relationship issues with Patrick, too. This is another Notes app entry. It was made on October 24th, 2022, and later edited on November 3rd, 2022. And again, we don't know exactly what was changed from the time the note was created to when it was edited, but here's what it said in part.
I'm on the fence about starting a new med or not. I want to feel happy, but it would be nice to feel authentically happy and not fake. But I need to feel happier than I did last evening because then I was pretty depressed and not enjoying any of my children. It was really sad. I needed the breastfeeding off of my plate. I'm struggling so hard because I wanted to parent each of my kids like my first, and since I can't, that's depressing to me. This is definitely the root cause of all our problems. Now I feel like I'm not parenting any of my kids the way I want to, and that makes me sad too.
All this led up to the fateful day when the children were strangled. It happened on January 24th, 2023. Now, Lindsay's defense team has admitted she used exercise bands to strangle all of the children in the basement of her home before attempting suicide. She slit her wrists and throat, took crushed up medications, and jumped from a second-story window. She survived the fall, but is paralyzed from the waist down. One of the first things we ever heard from Patrick was in a GoFundMe post he made just days after the children were killed. He wrote, "I want to ask all of you to find it deep within yourselves to forgive Lindsay as I have. The real Lindsay was generously loving and caring towards everyone, me, our kids, family, friends, and her patients." He later told The New Yorker, "I wasn't married to a monster. I was married to someone who got sick." In May 2023, Patrick relocated from Massachusetts to New York and moved into an apartment in Manhattan. The couple later divorced, and Patrick has since remarried Rachel Danis, a New York-based doctor who specializes in infertility.
And were you previously married to a person named Lindsay Clancy?
Yes,
And you're divorced now, is that correct?
correct.
We gave you a closer look at the relationship between Patrick and Lindsay Clancy. And now the question is, will that relationship come to the forefront during deliberations? What will the jury make of it all? And I want to ask that question and so many more to today's guest. It's criminal defense attorney Nicole Castronovo. Nicole, thank you so much for coming on Scandal with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be on Law and Crime.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. Your first time on Law and Crime. And let me start by asking you this. I know that you have been covering this trial pretty much since it began. You've been watching it. You've been following it. Were you as shocked as I was about how Patrick Clancy, kind of in the world of social media, online, the internet, has become the villain in all this?
Yes, I was surprised by that. And, it's funny. I don't follow a lot of law shows. I'm doing law all day long. So when I come home, I want to watch Love is Blind. That's what I want to watch when I come home. And so for a case to catch my attention is rare, but I'm a mom, I'm a woman, and it seems like a lot of that, our maternal roles, our wife roles are really on trial right now. I was surprised to see Patrick become the villain because when I first heard about this case, I just thought, okay, this is going to be a quick, guilty by reason of insanity plea and it's going to move on. But the fact that the prosecution chose to try this case they've really like aired the dirty laundry that everybody has, and now they put Patrick Clancy in a position where he has become the villain because they've chosen to do this like public stoning of Lindsay Clancy.
I am very shocked that the Commonwealth decided to bring these charges. And I mean, they've been steadfast from the beginning. They believe that this was murder. They're putting on the best case that they can. They actually wrapped it up yesterday. So now we're in the defense's case in chief. But to your point, it has been kind of wild to see people kind of running with these conspiracy theories about Patrick Clancy when Lindsay, the very basis of her defense or her argument here is that she did it. She just wasn't criminally responsible. And so part of this that we're talking about, like our episode today, is about the relationship between Patrick and Lindsay. And we got a closer look at all of this in Patrick's testimony. So what did you make of his testimony on the stand?
Oh gosh, it's so hard because I want to be, I don't want to pass judgment on someone who lost 3 children and their life blew up in a way that is just sort of unimaginable. And so a lot of people commented on him being unemotional, not breaking down, all of those things. People do weird things when trauma happens and act different ways. What did strike me, I guess, with his testimony, besides, interpersonal things, all of that, is that Patrick Clancy was told not to leave Lindsay alone with these children. And he chose to. And so I think that's something that the nation has kind of grabbed onto. I think especially women are really following this case because I think a lot of us have had a less than supportive partner sometimes postpartum. They don't get it. They don't get how tired you are, all of those things. And maybe he, on the best day, he just didn't get it. But I do think that that did alarm me a little bit, is how much, Lindsay didn't just like freak out and kill the kids. And they're talking about, she tried to conceal this and send them on an errand and all of these things. But the testimony that's come out is that she was asking for help. She was begging for help. When she was having intrusive thoughts, she called 911. She drove herself to the hospital. She did all the things. She told her mother. She told her husband. And, when he was told, don't leave her with these children right now, and he did, I thought that was the most difficult part of the testimony, truly.
Yeah. And I mean, her mom was on the stand yesterday and she talked about the really intense moment when Lindsay was honest with her mother and Patrick and said, I'm having thoughts about harming the kids. Like, this is just what is going on. And so I think a lot of the testimony we've seen has been Lindsay being honest. She was going to doctor after doctor. We saw a lot of medications that she was prescribed, that she really was trying to seek help, making journal entries, talking to Patrick about all of this. And he did, to his credit, he testified on the stand that day. Lindsay was having one of her best days. I didn't feel nervous leaving her with the kids in that moment. But at the same time, you brought up a really good point that I think a lot of people are latching on to this case because a lot of women are mothers. They've gone through postpartum. They realize that generally a man or a partner who didn't give birth, they don't understand in the same way. They're not as tired. Their hormones aren't going. Maybe they don't have the postpartum depression or psychosis of all of this. And this is the next part. You talked about Patrick leaving that day, but he also left leading up to the children's deaths. I mean, he went to New York for a couple of days. He was known to go to brunch or skiing. A lot of people are really zeroing in on that, the fact that he went to New York for those 2 days, kind of in the months leading up to this. What do you make of all of that? Do you think the jurors are going to be paying attention to that?
I do. And, I guess this is the hard thing about like when someone has a mental health episode. How many times have we heard about someone who has committed suicide and people have said, I was just with them the day before. They seemed fine. They were laughing. They were happy. They didn't say anything was wrong. And so to say someone's having like a good day versus a bad day, one, he's not a mental health professional, but 2, that's a sad thing. And that's a scary thing about mental illness is it's not like a physical illness. We can see that you have an injury, someone could be feeling great and feeling fine, and maybe that's how they come off, but on the inside they're just dying, and I think saying she's having good days versus bad days is tough as well, because she was a mama of 3. When you have children, and you're having a bad day, you don't tend to like break down and cry in front of them, or have, everybody's done that, but we try to protect our children from what's going on, right? Is there a financial issue going on? Are mom and dad mad at each other? All of that. So just maybe because she was putting on that front for the kids so they felt secure and safe doesn't mean necessarily she was having a great day.
Yeah, I think you brought up such a good point that mental illness is so hard because it's not, to your point, something we can see. Like if somebody broke their leg, we can see, okay, they're in a cast. That's clear to see. But if you are diagnosed with bipolar disorder or postpartum depression or psychosis, you can present like you've got your stuff together. You can present, you can still do your job. You can still raise your kids. And yet inside you can be battling a really harrowing disease. And I think that's really why so many people are interested in this case, because so many people grapple with mental health issues, myself included. I know a lot of our viewers have problems with that. And I don't say problems in a negative way. Again, I have all of these issues. I have anxiety, depression, OCD, I got it all. But I think that's really why people are paying extra close attention here. And I have to ask about the jury, because a lot of the viewers that I've been seeing have all of these issues. But what about the jurors? I mean, mental health issues are pretty common if they themselves haven't experienced it. Maybe their partner has, their daughter, son, friend, cousin, whoever it may be. Do you think they're going to go into the deliberation room kind of factoring in all of that?
Jury deliberation is just like that wild thing that we'll never know unless you do it. And I've never personally sat on a jury. I have told every single client before they make the decision to go to a jury trial. It's like betting on a horse, and at the end of the day, it's a horse. Like, we can make every educated guess, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what they're coming in there with. Jury selection is where the trial is won or lost. Any experienced trial attorney is going to tell you that. And jury selection is really interesting because I don't know if you've ever sat through it, but you see 12 people end up in the box and they start asking them questions, or 14 or 18 or however many they want to put to be questioned at the time. And that's the only time we get to directly talk to the jurors and say, juror number 1, have you known anyone to have like any sort of mental illness? Would this make you discriminate against my client, or would you feel more for the client? And you hope that they give you the best answers. Actually, people kind of give you some crazy honest answers sometimes, but you just never know once they get back there what it is they're going to hang their hat on. It's interesting because as attorneys, we try our case, we live with this case for 2-3 years, and we think, these are our 5 best facts. And it's interesting when someone who doesn't have a legal education necessarily, what they zero in on and think is important. I think one thing that's going to go back with the jury, I think is really interesting, is her journal entries. The journal entries, when I was listening to them, this is someone who really loved their kids. Like, there was one entry that stood out to me in particular where she was just agonizing over like sleep training her baby, and do we cry it out? And the doctor said that's fine, and all of that, and how much she thought about that as a mom, how much she felt about it. This is someone who loved their children. Even the day of the incident happened, she's sending her husband to go get medication for one of the kids. She had called ahead to see if they have it, to get dinner, all of those things. And so I don't know what they're going to do in there. I really don't. It was an unnecessary parade of unnecessary evidence. The fact that we are at, day 14 of this trial?
Yeah, week 4, I think. Yeah.
4 weeks of this is a long time, Criminal trials tend to be very short. Typically, a death case is like 2 weeks. I've seen someone put to death in 2 weeks. And so to do this, dragging it out when she already tried to just say, get her insanity plea and move on, I think the prosecution's like shot itself in the foot. They're sending her, the jury gets to look at all the exhibits. They're going to see your medical records, the journal, the timeline, all of it.
Yeah. And to your point, I actually was there for jury selection in the room when they were going through voir dire. I saw the jury questionnaire and it did talk a lot about mental health illness. Have you experienced postpartum? Do you know somebody who did? So I think the odds that someone on this jury has either experienced it or seen someone experience it, I think the odds are pretty high, number one. And number two, I mean, I think we're all kind of Monday morning quarterbacking here, right? Because we can rewatch the clips over and over of Patrick saying, yeah, I did go to New York. And people can speculate, oh my God, he's married to a woman who's in New York now. Was he leaving Lindsay at the time for an affair with that woman? I mean, the conspiracy theories can run wild. But for the jurors, they can't rewatch his testimony. They saw it. They can look through their notebooks, but that's pretty much it. And they also are privy to things that we aren't in the courtroom. I mean, I will note that my photographer, who's been there every day, he was there for Patrick's testimony, that when Patrick was on camera for the testimony, you pointed this out, a lot of people were saying, okay, he was pretty flat, he was unemotional, he didn't describe the kids very well. But then during breaks, according to my photographer, Patrick was breaking down. He was crying. He was clearly unwell. He was just trying to pull himself together for the camera. And I think a lot of people, the discourse here is that he's a bad dad, he's a bad husband, whatever, but not a killer does that make. He's not on trial here. I want people to remember that. It's Lindsay who is on trial. So is that something, their relationship, that's really what our episode is about today. Do you think their relationship is something that jurors would discuss? Does it even matter?
I think they're going to discuss the relationship because it was paraded out for so long.
Yeah.
I do think that unfortunately, like Patrick is taking the ire of every neglectful husband that every woman has ever had, going through a postpartum situation. I've been there. I know a million people who have been there. That's why a lot of us end up divorced after we have kids. I mean, just that lack of present sometimes and understanding. And I could also see like Lindsay seemed like someone who really had it together. Like she's an L&D nurse and she's got the 3 kids and she's doing her thing. But the relationship was on the stand for a lot of days. And yes, the jury sees things we don't. They do get to read back his testimony. So if they have a question, they will be able to say, you know what, I want to know what Patrick said about going to that restaurant. Then the court can give them that portion of the transcript. But I do think he didn't do himself any favors in this sense, is when Kevin Reddington was asking him some very like straightforward questions. He seemed very defensive. He seemed evasive. He didn't seem to want to answer the questions completely. He didn't make a lot of eye contact with him, which again can be trauma, but being less than fully forthcoming, the juries might hold that against him. I will say I've seen a jury get turned off when they realized the prosecutor was not telling them the truth. I watched the jurors physically go like this and cross their arms. And so it doesn't matter what side you're on. If someone doesn't think you're telling them the truth and they've had to sit here for 4 weeks, they may hold that against you. And if they impute dishonesty to you, they might impute a lot of other negative characteristics. So I did think that was part of his testimony that just didn't come off well, was his defensiveness with Kevin Reddington.
Yeah, that's a good point because a lot of people online, we can take the clips and put it on TikTok or whatever. They're talking about the inconsistencies in Patrick Clancy's testimony. I mean, we had an entire Scandal episode about all of that. So to your point, if the jurors go back and take a look at his transcripts and say, okay, what about this 524 email from the Surface Pro? What was going on there? Was he in the parking lot of CVS? Did he leave at 5:15? I mean, I really do agree with you that they're going to be talking about their relationship when it comes time for deliberation. A lot ahead in this case. I mean, the relationship is a huge foundation of all of this, but in the end, it's up to the jurors to decide whether Lindsay Clancy was criminally responsible. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Nicole, though, thank you for coming on Scandal and making your Law and Crime debut today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I get, you're my very first here at Law and Crime, so I got the debut. So we can have that distinction together, but thank you for having me. It's a great topic to discuss. It is like the case that's just taken everyone by storm. It's kind of wild. So I'm really appreciative to talk about it with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you back on as this case continues.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll continue to follow this case and bring you all of the latest updates right here on Scandal. And for complete live coverage of the trial, make sure to tune into Law and Crime, where we're streaming this case live with gavel-to-gavel coverage. And that is where today's episode of Scandal leaves us for now. If you like what you saw and you want to see more or connect with me on social media, you can find me on places like Instagram at Sierra Gillespe. Thanks for watching today's episode of Scandal. As always, I'm your host, Sierra Gillespe, and I'll see you next time.